Last Epoch is an ARPG with familiar classes compared to other games in the genre, but with a very different approach. Each class is made up of abilities that all have their very own skill trees. Because of this, I found that creating a character build that fits the playstyle I want to play was extremely easy to create. Hey everyone, Kintzugi here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my experiences playing the 5 classes in Last Epoch. Now let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to cover the class feel, the way the abilities coalesce, the class build and mastery choices I had on my playthroughs, and my personal ranking of the classes after playing all 5. This one's very subjective. And let's not just limit this to me. Share your guys' favorite builds and classes in the comments below. We'll chat about it. I want to see how wacky you guys got, how epic you guys got. Share those thoughts down below and let's continue building this wonderful community we're getting going here. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. You guys have already done so much. We've gone from 70 subscribers to about 350 at the time of recording this video. That was in like a 1-week span. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And with that said, let's get back to the video. Strong in honor and fearsome in combat, the Sentinel stands stalwart against what is unjust, even at the end of the world. The Sentinel was the first class I tried in Last Epoch, and in hindsight was the most approachable class I experienced. Sentinels could be classified as a tank or DPS, and they focus on strength and vitality as its main stats. This class is all about ruthless swinging of your giant two-handed weapons or sword and boarding it to victory. But it doesn't stop there. The fun begins with an ability you learn at level 2. That ability is called Warpath. Warpath is what I like to call the holy grail of abilities in ARPGs. It's the one you abuse and buff and you regret nothing. This ability swings your weapon in a circle and massacres your foes. Whether you are fighting 1 or 100 enemies, you know what to do. Warpath, baby! I also found Lunge to be a necessary ability for much needed mobility. The masteries to choose for Sentinel are Paladin, Void Knight, and Force Guard. I decided to go with Void Knight since it's metal, dude! Oh, and because it also has this passive called Future Strike, when you hit an enemy, you have a 10% chance per allocated point to inflict a future attack 2 seconds later that deals 60 void damage all at once at the end of its duration. All in all, the Sentinel is my tried and true type of class. If you are a fan of giant weapons and dealing as much damage as you take, with the opportunity to add the healing capabilities of a Paladin or magic damage of a Void Knight, this class is definitely for you. And sorry, Force Guard, you're just kinda meh to me. A warrior from the north who has seen the horrors of war firsthand, the Primalist seeks communion with the power of Etera, the power of nature itself. And next we have the Primalist, which was the second class I tried in Last Epoch. Primalist could be classified as the trifecta, tank, DPS, and healer, and you may want to focus on strength, attunement, and intelligence with this one. This class can be as active or mindless as you want it to be depending on your build and mastery. I personally think this class dragged on during the first 10 levels or so before I began to understand. And by understand, I mean focus all of my points into my companions and put my feet up. This is because I chose Beastmaster over Druid or Shaman for my mastery. Summon Wolves and Summon Raptor to start in the Beastmaster mastery is a set it and forget it playstyle. By specializing in those minions, plus using Fury Leap to help you get around, you will create the least active playstyle probably in the game. If you are looking to go with a more engaging and damage-focused build with your character, I'd recommend Shaman might be a good option for you. And if you want to tap into extra heals, then the Druid would be the way to go. All in all, the Primalist felt like it had the most diversity from mastery to mastery compared to the other classes. Play Primalist if you want a stable playstyle experience, and if you potentially have a little crunchy granola in you. If you know, you know. An elder cresting his prime, the Mage wields the power of the arcane to make up for his past wrongs and to give the world a new future. The Mage was the third class I tried in Last Epoch, and reluctantly so. Now, I'm not a caster or magic class type of person in RPGs, but Mage in Last Epoch felt good. The Mage is of course a pure DPS class, and it's true, he is indeed a bursty boy. Focusing on intelligence and attunement as the main character stats for ward retention and mana, this class is all about crowd control to set up for big damage. Surprisingly, I didn't feel wildly squishy on Mage because of my choice to focus on ward and ward retention, which is just what shields are called in Last Epoch. I found myself gravitating towards the ice abilities because of their freeze potential, and those abilities felt better to use. Abilities like Glacier were big and exciting, and Snap Freeze is your freeze/stun ability to keep your distance or land opportunity attacks. I also found that the lightning ability, Disintegrate, think Cyclops from X-Men, was absolutely broken to start. You just become a giant laser beam, and let's be honest, we all love ourselves some giant lasers. When it came to masteries, despite the rare occasion of enjoying a caster, I went with Spellblade. I couldn't help myself thinking of poking in and out of combat with close range magic abilities. The mastery comes with passives that add ward on melee attacks, and I found that Shatter Strike was going to be the ability I build around due to it coalescing well with any abilities that freeze. So if you enjoy mages in other games, or if you love the idea of freezing enemies, shattering them, and laser beams, this class might be for you. Oh, and your character's voice sounds like Liam Neeson? And come on now, if that's a sign for anything, it just means you're a certified magical badass. Unrivaled in bow and blade, the Rogue strikes out from the shadows to find a higher purpose for her deadly talents. Now onto what seems to be a staple class in the ARPG genre, the Rogue. I looked forward to this class for its ranged melee capabilities. This class is a pure DPS machine, and it actually felt more squishy to start compared to even the likes of Mage. Most likely because I was able to pursue more ward on Mage, and because of this, close combat, although it felt really good here, also felt more high risk and high reward. I found that the ranged melee with a bow was more satisfying with the feel of bow attacks, as well as the ability to put a buffer between you and your enemies. However, arrows from some bow abilities had extremely bad pass-through on enemies in my time with the class. Now, I can't imagine they don't mend this for the 1.0 release, but boy howdy, it was bad. Moving on to some of my favorite core abilities, the ability Dash is your saving grace here. This class definitely relies on mobility, so you have to stay sharp. Damage here wasn't too bursty, but rather more consistent peppering of your opponents. I found myself favoring the ability Cinder Blast, which is basically an explosion. Yes, I just made up the word explosion. Arrow blast that has fire damage. And by adding elemental damage to my stats, it gave it an added boost. And as for mana consumption with Rogue, this class never put me into mana troubles, so that was always a positive. For me, Rogue felt awkward to start, however, it did scale really nicely as I went along. It went from fragile and weak to feeling fairly strong by level 12. I imagine this class becomes very dangerous near endgame. However, I can't stress enough how bad the pass-through of arrows were on enemies. It definitely made being a ranged melee rogue hard to recommend, which is a shame since bows are unique to the class. Play this class if you love an extra active playstyle, parkour, and stabbing your friends in the back. A rebellious scion who disobeyed her masters and sought out forbidden magic. The Acolyte will let nothing stop her from becoming more powerful. And finally, we have the last class I tried in Last Epoch, the emo class of Acolyte. This was the last class I tried, and it was a thriller for a finale. Acolyte is a pure DPS class with what seems like the widest range of damage diversity. This class, however, brought me to a couple early deaths. Squishiness is a factor here, and I felt like I could always use higher health regeneration. For me, this class shined once I acquired abilities like Transplant, which is a mobility skill that explodes your current body, and you transplant into a new one at a target location. It's actually kinda sick. And Volatile Zombies, which are zombies you can freely spawn and they run and explode on enemies. And because of an ability as hilarious and fun and funny as this one, just use it and you'll know. It led me to choose Necromancer for added minions and minion damage as my mastery. I was actually extremely interested in Lich as a mastery for its Reaper form, however, I was hooked on the minion fun of Necromancer. Play Acolyte if you love a bloody good time with even more minions than Primalist, and of course, if The Black Parade is still your favorite album of all time. When I was a young boy. Okay, and that brings us to our tier list of the classes in Last Epoch. Number 5, the Rogue. Unfortunately, the ghost arrows I couldn't really look past, and it's also a playstyle that, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little too lazy for it. However, I do understand that if I wanna put myself out there and start playing a little bit harder in this game, Rogue would probably be really rewarding. Up at number 4, we've got Primalist. Now I know with this one, it's probably because I picked Beast Mastery that I was so bored with it. So when I give Shaman a try, or maybe even Druid, I have a feeling it might move up on the list at that time. Number 3, we've got Acolyte. Obviously, this one had to hit the top 3 just because of its emo nature, but in all seriousness, the Acolyte actually was really exciting to play. I feel like some of the abilities really stick with you, like the volatile zombies, and I do feel like the class as a whole will scale even further. I think the Lich having a Reaper form is so sick, and in terms of the minions you get as a Necromancer, you really do feel pretty strong. My only downside with the Acolyte as of right now is lack of mobility, but that could just be my thing. And at number 2, we've got Sentinel. So it's a little shocking Sentinel didn't make number 1 on my list. Usually I'm a big fan of the warrior, barbarian, any sort of close combat, melee classes. However, this doesn't mean at number 2 it's any bit bad. I think it's really a toss-up here, and Sentinel was my go-to safety choice. I think Warpath is the best ability in the game because it is truly the warrior spinny ability, and other than that, it's a super balanced class. You get to take as much damage as you give, so who's really complaining? So, of course, that leaves us at number 1, and that is Mage. Mage as a number 1 on my tier list of any sort of class list is absolutely wild. I am never a mage. I'm never a caster class, but here in Last Epoch, call it me trying new things, but wow, it was a blast to play, and I put out a lot of blasts. Maybe there's a correlation there. I really don't know, but Mage was super bursty. I feel like it had tons of mobility. Having Ward made me feel way more durable, even more so than the likes of Rogue. And once I mastered into Spellblade, I knew I could have a little bit of the best of both worlds of being melee and the magic burstiness of a caster. Hey, editing Kintzugi here, and man, I put out a community poll of who your favorite classes are in Last Epoch currently, and 30% voted Rogue as number 1. So I'm sure you guys are unhappy with me after seeing what I just ranked them at, but I thought that was a little funny and I wanted to plug it in. So back to the video. There you guys have it. That's my experience playing all 5 classes in Last Epoch here in Early Access. Now, I had a blast making this video, and playing all 5 classes was a fun way to experience the game. Before I go any further into the game, I wanted to get a true idea of the class I wanted to play, because as we know, level 100, it's a long ways away, and I wanted to get the right idea of who I wanted to play all the way to endgame. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with my summaries of the classes? Now, I didn't get too in depth. There's way more detailed guides out there, so go find those if you want the, actual statistics of what's going on with the classes in a more in-depth review. I'm here for the fun. I'm not trying to be too complicated with things. I just want to give people an introduction to the classes in my own words, my own experiences, and just as impressions, not an objective review. Once again, please remember to like and subscribe. It's motivating me to create more videos, create more streams, and just generally put more effort into this. It's been an absolute pleasure to comment with you guys on my videos and to talk with you in the couple streams we've done. Thank you guys so much for making it feel like I'm doing something right here. And with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.